Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Rabbi.
We're learning Mishna Yevamos, Perek Gimel, chapter 13. We're in the middle of Mishna Aleph. We'll just quickly read from the beginning. Bei Shammai Oimrim, Bei Shammai say, a mamanin ela arusais. When a minor who got married through her mother or her brothers, who has a rabbinic marriage, and we say that she can do mian, she can just decide to refuse it. She can declare she doesn't want to be married anymore, and she's free. She doesn't need a get. She doesn't need a bill of divorce. Bei Shammai say they can only do that at the stage of Erisin, at the stage of betrothal. But once they get completely married after chuppah, they cannot refuse anymore. Beis Hillel arusis and asuais. Beis Hillel say at both stages of betrothal and marriage, they can do after that. They can still do the mian. Beis Shammai oimer. Beis Shammai say babal v'lo biyavim. Beis Shammai say she can only refuse the husband, but not the yavim. If the husband dies without children, and now she falls hebrim to the brother-in-law, she cannot do mian to him. She cannot refuse him. If she doesn't want to marry him, she can wait and basically wait till she gets old enough for a chalitza to be done, and then she'll be free. She can't have a chalitza while she's a minor, but she'll wait until she's older. She'll get the chalitza, and then she'll be free. Beis Hillel say babal v'yavim. She can do mian both by the husband and both by the yavim after the husband dies. Beis Shammai oimrim b'fanov. Beis Shammai say that when she does the mian, when she absolves the marriage, it has to be in front of him. Beis Hillel oimrim b'fanov shlei b'fanov. Beis Hillel say it can be in front of him or not in front of him. This is how far we got yesterday. Now here's the rest of the Mishnah. Beis Shammai oimrim b'beis din. Beis Shammai say chalitza has to be performed in a beis din, in a court. Beis Hillel oimrim. Beis Hillel say b'beis din m'shalei b'beis din. It can be in a court or not in a court. Now, we learned previously, the Mishnah said that it needs a court. It may not need a court of halachic experts, but it needs a court. Are we getting involved in that argument here? And the answer is no. Here, we're dealing with what kind of a court. Everybody agrees it needs a beis din, it needs a court. The question is, what kind of a court? When Beis Shammai say you need a beis din, that means you need a beis din of musmachim. You need a beis din of judges who have smicha. Now, let me read to you here from the bottom of how they explain what that means here, what that means smicha. That is, judges that have received special smicha, special ordination from their teachers, who in turn received smicha from their teachers in an unbroken chain going back to Moshe. We're not talking about the smicha that rabbis get nowadays, or even for the past 1,000 or so years. We're talking about a very specific type of smicha that was from teacher to student, way back to Moshe Rabbeinu. It was a special type of smicha. It wasn't just, taking a test on a couple of things. It was part of a much greater level of ordination. And this was a special form of smicha that was discontinued centuries ago. But that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the special kind of smicha that the Gemara talks about that allows a person to be a judge in certain types of Jewish law. Without that kind of smicha, they cannot be those kinds of judges. And Beis Shammai say, those are the kinds of judges you need for your beis din, for your court, when doing chalitza. As we have said before, Beis Shammai said she has to do the chalitza in front of him. Clearly, Beis Shammai is not looking to make it easier for her. He's looking to make it harder, because it's harder to do to his face. And Beis Shammai say it's only going to work if you do it to his face. That means that Beis Shammai are trying actually to make it not so simple for her just to refuse and walk. Well, the fact that you need this kind of a court of this kind of judges makes it even more difficult, because it's not like you have that many of those around. It's very limited. And therefore, Beis Shammai says, limits the kind of court we're talking about to one of musmachim. When Beis Hillel say in a beis din, not in a court, and even and outside of a court, it doesn't mean outside of a court. You need a court. You need at least 3 Jewish men that are not invalid to be judges, even if they're ignorant of the laws of chalitza. As long as we said they can read Hebrew and recite the verses to the woman and the man to recite back, to respond to, that's enough. So that's the argument here between Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. Next, Amr lahen Beis Hillel Beis Shammai. The Beis Hillel, the Academy of Hillel, said to the Academy of Shammai. These were their students arguing with each other. Mima enes vikatana, a girl can refuse while she is a minor. Afilu arba'a v'chamisha pamim, even 4 or 5 times. She can get married to a guy and say, I'm done. Get married to another guy, I'm done. And she go through this 4 or 5 times, as many times as she wants. Shammai said to them, Ein b'nai Yisrael hefker. Jewish daughters are not ownerless. They should not be basically passing from one hand to another hand. And even though it's they who are the ones that are backing out, it is not appropriate that they should be passing from one hand to another hand like that, like a ownerless object that you could just you pick it up, you throw it away, somebody else picks it up. That's not how it should work here. Ella, rather, first going to translate the words. She refuses and waits until she grows up. Utaman, she refuses, v'tinas, and she marries. Now, all those things can't go together. Because if she stays married when she becomes an adult, she can't do mian anymore. So what does it mean here, these words? She waits until she gets older, and she refuses, and she marries. So the explanation is that Beis Shammai is actually saying you have 2 choices. This girl has 2 choices. Either she can refuse, and then after that, she's got to wait. She's got to go ahead and wait. If she wants to go ahead and then, get married again, she's going to have to wait until she becomes a gedola, until she becomes an adult. When she becomes an adult, she can accept the kedushin on her own, and at that point, she won't be able to refuse anymore. That's one option. Utamar v'sinase, or another option is like this. Refuse this guy, and you want to get married again, you have to have a complete marriage right away. The typical way a marriage was done was you had kedushin, you had the betrothal, and then it was a year later until the chuppah. Well, this is where Beis Shammai say, look, if that's what you want to be able to go through the regular process of marriage, then if you do a mian on this husband, and the next husband you want to go through the regular process of kedushin and later on a chuppah, you can't do it. You're going to have to wait until you become an adult, and then you can do it. Because at that point, we won't be able to do mian anymore. I won't be able to refuse. But if you don't want to wait, then what you need to do is like this. You refuse the guy, marry somebody else, and don't only just marry, and when we say marry, don't only just have kedushin, you got to do the chuppah right away. You got to do the like we do it nowadays. You got to do it right away. There's no waiting around. If you're going to get married to somebody else, you've got to go through the entire process, the erisin and the nisuin, the betrothal and the chuppah. You got to go through it right away. Why? Because Beis Shammai said originally that after nisuin, she can't refuse anymore. So if the whole problem is Beis Shammai want to avoid her, going back and forth in marriage, they say like this. If the next guy, if you marry him and you marry him completely right away, okay, that's all right. Because after you do that, you won't be able to refuse anymore either. If you don't want to do that, you want to go through the regular process, you want to have a kedushin, and you want to wait, and then a chuppah, that you cannot do after you refuse your husband. If you get out of that marriage with mian, and you want to go that next route, you cannot do that until you become an adult. Because once you become an adult, you'll accept kedushin by yourself, and at that point, you won't be able to refuse. You'll need a get. You'll need to build a divorce. So that's the achlekes Beis Shammai Beis Hillel. Beis Hillel say, as many times as she wants, she can refuse. Beis Shammai say no. Her choice is either to refuse and then wait till she gets older, where she will marry herself off and then mian won't help, or the other choice is the next guy, you get married and you get completely married right away. You have kedushin, you have the betrothal, you have the marriage completely right away, because at that point, after complete marriage, she can't refuse anymore anyway. All right. Ulapamim. And there are times, so the first thing we mentioned before was if the person thinks that at the end of the day, somebody wronged him, but he wants to tell other people about it. And these are people who can help him out. They can go to the other person who wronged him, and they can straighten him out. They can get him to straighten out in the sense of, paying for the damages and so forth. However, let's say, so again, even though you're talking about yourself personally to other people, but you're doing it for constructive purpose, because those people will now go to that person who wronged you, and they will speak to him, and they'll get him to change to make up for what he did. But let's say we're talking about something that has nothing to do with actual money, but rather he caused you embarrassment, he insulted you, he caused you some other kind of suffering, but not a monetary loss. and you want to go tell other people about that. Well, as we said before, if your purpose of telling other people is, I want other people not to learn from him, we're not going to believe that if it's personal. But here, we're going to talk about a case that it's not monetary, but it's not like we said before. You know somebody wants to come after you. He wants to come and insult you. He wants to come and embarrass you because of a certain matter. If you go over to the person's relatives or the person or people that the person respects, and you'll show to them what really happened. And those people will now see that, okay, you're right. It's not right for him to come after you like that. Then maybe they're going to stop him from it. All right. If they can stop him from it, then you can go tell other people about it. Let's say it's already passed. He already did it. He already embarrassed you. But you know what? You want to make sure he doesn't do it again. And so you want to go to his relatives, to his rabbi, to people he respects, and you want to show them, look, it's not right what he's doing to me. And by saying that to them, he thinks that, or he hopes that they will do something about it. And he thinks they're the kind of people who could do something about it. Then in those situations, even though you're putting him down in front of the people who are hearing what you say, and you're even laying out to them how wrong he is, nonetheless, nonetheless, you can go ahead and tell other people about it, because you're not telling them to put him down. You're telling them because you're trying to protect yourself. You're trying to get them to stop him from insulting you in the first place, or you shouldn't do it again. If that is your intention while you're telling the other people, then it is not considered Lashon Hara, because that is considered for a constructive purpose. Have a wonderful day and a wonderful Shabbos.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful